Welcome back to the Glint Standard. Today we're talking about culture, which is so my jam. It's going to be 15 minutes of good takeaways, good energy, and good feedback. And I love that we're going to have our president CEO, Craig Lloyd, joining us.
Wow, really? You don't even know who I am?
Well, it just
You're writing me off, aren't
a
you?
little tongue-tied. But you know what I think we need to do, though? I think we need to provide our listeners with some context about us.
About us.
And maybe perhaps a spoiler alert. Because this 15 minutes, we're going to come at this topic a couple of different ways. Remember
That's
how
fair.
we talked
Yeah.
about this in our preparation?
Yeah, I do. Good to be prepared.
It's good to be prepared. I know. So my feedback, or the way I see it, having been in marketing and PR for different organizations, will be more operationally focused. What would you say yours is going to be?
You know, I try to break, I don't know what the word is really, but I try to break things down to their common denominator so most people can understand it, right?
So-
Less is more. Simple, stupid is what some people call it, right? Which I don't think is a bad thing. And I will take things to that point because we don't have to get overly complex. I do believe in data, and I know you love data, but that's where I'll be coming from.
So, listeners, translation. I'm going to come with the boring stuff. And Craig is going to break it down and say, this is what it really means.
Yeah.
So if you're good with that, then hang with us for the next 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay, but more background. I think our viewers and our listeners don't know that I have been a client of Glint's
Have been, yes.
for about a little over 10 years. And we have been talking about culture this entire time, you and I,
Yeah, absolutely.
even before I even thought about working here. So you know my struggles.
I do.
You know also my victories. And I think I know your struggles. and your
Absolutely,
victories.
yeah.
And I love your perspective because you get to create change as the owner of an agency. And I think that's really awesome.
I get to affect change and guide change. I don't really get to make change.
Okay.
Especially when you're talking about
That's a
culture.
good point.
Culture, it's not about one person. It's not about a leadership team. It's not about anybody. It's about coming together and believing in what you're doing together, believing in the people you work with, trusting them. And are you in a comfortable space where you feel like you have that type of growth? That's not a one person thing.
Yeah.
If you know it's off, you can bring it up and say, "Hey, something's off. We need to work on how do we fix this?"
Right. It's not one person thing.
No,
I
can't
love
be.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we were going to define culture, I would define it in terms of it's basically an organization personality. If somebody had to describe culture, or the culture of an organization, it's their personality, it's their brand. What are your thoughts on that?
So it's hard because culture is a big part of branding, and that's our number one top service we provide, right? Culture to me is a little bit different than that. It's a foundational piece of that. But I mean, at the end of the day, do you trust the people that are around you? And are you willing to sacrifice your time for them?
Okay.
That's basically it. And the answer is
Kinda that
yes.
innate.
You have trust. You have a lot of other things. So that's kind of what it comes down to for me.
So when I worked in the credit union industry, culture was going back to the whole personality thing. It was, how did you sound answering the phone? How are our members going to trust us or believe us? Or how are we coming across to them? How are we dressing? What's our attitude? Are we solution focused? That was all a part of the brand, but also the culture. And then what we found when we were trying to undig all of that stuff, we found that sometimes to motivate employees, you really had to dig deeper and have fun at work. And you have to, that was one way of motivating them.
It
So,
is.
I mean,
It
it's
is.
it's so big. I know what you're saying.
I think you have to break it down, though. Otherwise, you can't. Culture, to me, fundamentally, is what's happening inside the four walls. When people are watching and when people aren't watching.
Aren't watching.
Right? That's the core of what it is. How you answer the phone, how you present yourself. Those are predetermined planned. This is our expectations for you based on what how our brand needs to be perceived.
You know what else? It's also how we treat each other.
It is.
Internal customer service.
Absolutely.
Not just about the customer.
Absolutely.
And that creates culture. My big mama used to say, what you do in the dark will come to light. So what you said just totally rang a bell. Because
Yeah.
it is so true. If you get in the habit of just whatever to your coworker, you're going to do that to your clients. You're going to do that to your
Absolutely you are.
customers.
That becomes part of your personal culture at that point, right?
Right.
A little bit. And I think that's the thing. When you start to put stats and data behind things, it can be very just, right?
Yeah.
Somebody can show up at your office when you answer the phone, you have to address it this way. Okay, well, still don't want to be here, but I will do that. And you do a good job at it.
Right.
And you can fake your way through that.
Yeah.
That's not culture, right? Because when they hang up, how's that person? And that's just one example of why I look at it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
You know?
So I think what we're learning from this is that culture can mean a lot of different things.
It absolutely can.
And we could probably do podcast upon podcast upon podcast.
Absolutely.
Talking about culture and the different pieces of it. Okay, so we were talking about culture and motivating employees. Because a lot of that is a part of it. I'm looking at you like, or keeping your employees motivated. So I'm going to bring a little science. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Maslow's hierarchy.
Why am I
You
not
ready?
surprised by this?
Hierarchy
Yes.
of needs. So he was this guy in this guy, not really, but he's this researcher in 1943, and he starts doing all of these tests to figure out what motivates employees so that they increase productivity. And so what he found were 5 things that motivate employees. Here we go. Satisfactory pay at the lower level.
Makes a lot of sense.
Job security. Positive coworker relationships. That's your 3rd level.
Okay.
2nd level, recognition. And your 1st one, and I think we agree on this, empowerment. Employee responsibility and empowerment. So, what are your thoughts on Maslow? Good old Maslow in 1943.
Good thoughts. I think that all of that matters. But at the end of the day, are you allowing people to be problem solvers, allowing them to make decisions, and are you giving them a pathway for growth? The other things are variables that will change every day. You talk about money, you talk about perks and benefits, and we have shuffleboards and we have this and that and the other. That's not culture.
Yeah,
That's stuff.
I agree with you.
Right? And at the end of the day, if you have the perfect balance for somebody and somebody else comes along and say, hey, I'm going to give you X amount more money, usually the answer is okay. Sometimes it's not. That's why culture is important, because sometimes it's not. And that's the difference.
And that's the difference.
Right?
And you want people to align. I'm going back to the empowerment thing. Because we talked about this a little bit yesterday in our prep. We talked about people feeling scared and not feeling safe in their work environment. And that's a part of culture building. And in my experience, sometimes I have been in environments where I was scared to make a mistake. That's a real thing. But I've also been in environments where I was allowed to make mistakes, and that felt great because that led me to the position of being
Which environment do you think you're in now?
I don't know. It's been a month. I mean, I suspect that it's going to allow me to be great.
It is going to do that.
But I've seen both.
Or is it you don't think you made any mistakes yet? Is that what it is?
Oh, no. I know I've made a lot of mistakes.
We all
I'm
have.
okay with
We
that.
all do every day.
But I just don't want to be afraid to make mistakes. So I think that's really, really important. So I think Maslow had something.
It is, and here's how I look at it, right? My perspective, and take some of the data out of it. It's about culture, it's about feel, it's about caring. So if somebody's looking from the outside in, Do they feel like people care? Are they genuine? That's a good culture. If you feel that, right? And now we break it down to the inside, because I think if you can get the inside fixed, the rest on the outside fixes on its own. So there's basically 6 things I believe it is, right? You can get to, do you feel heard as an employee or a team member, leadership or entry level, doesn't matter. Do you feel heard? Do you understand the company direction, where we're trying
Very
to go as
good.
a company, right?
Very
That'd be my
good.
second one.
Woo!
Feel safe, we talked about it. Do you feel safe to be able to say something?
Yes.
Even if you think it might be controversial, right? Feel safe to have it, have that conversation. Do you trust your peers to do what they say they're going to do? If you don't, is that on you? Is it on them? You got to work it out, because that's a cultural challenge there. Feel empowered, we talked about that. And then, is there transparency? Do you share when the company's struggling? Do you share when the company's doing well? Do you share, hey, we've just lost a client, here's how it impacts things? Do you share the hard stuff and the good stuff?
So I'm getting excited.
Okay.
Because what I take from what you just said, in other settings, these are the things you need. An organization needs a strategic planning session or plan, so that everybody is on
100%.
the same wavelength. You have a shared vision, shared goals, and then what was it? My thought just escaped me. But that's really, really important. Question though, so I might go back to that other thought. Sometimes it comes back to me. What would you tell a leader if he or she walks into their organization and they see some of these things lacking, or they've heard things? What advice would you give that person?
I can tell you what most people are going to think the answer should be.
What do you think?
You have to lead from the top down, right? You have to drive the conversations. You have to set the examples. You have to be the person that changes it all. It's not the case. You lead by example. You can't fix everything. People who work for you want some grace. I made a mistake. I did this. You know what? So does leadership. They hide it sometimes. Transparency.
They hide it. True.
But as soon as you understand we're all doing the best we can possibly do, and we all make mistakes, grace has to go up just like it goes down.
Grace.
And that's how you balance it, right? You have to trust that the people are doing the best they possibly can, no matter what position they're in. That's believing in culture.
And I think you have to be able to listen, or want to listen.
You have to listen, not just to be heard. Listen to problem solve.
Exactly.
Right? And if it is just listening to be heard, be available for that. You have to give up. I try to plan my day when everybody's here, and with our flex time, and we're not always here all the time, but when I am here and everyone else is here, I loosen up my schedule. That allows me to have time for the unknown questions or feelings that might pop up. If somebody's frustrated, you can see that. You can take a minute, you can sit down and be intentional about, hey, what's going on?
You can.
Let's work through that. You've got to
believe
pay
you
attention
can.
to those things.
So going back to
Right.
the context and about you and me, I've been in the business or been working for about 25 years. I know I don't look like it. Just saying. So everybody, listeners and viewers, you get a lot of wealth of information right here. And I'm not sure if everybody gets it.
They don't. Here's, and that's the difference between branding as well. Branding is about building up a business and having the people in there help support the brand and delivering what the brand promises. The culture is about, when you're there, are you truly a team, building together, driving together for the same goal? Or are you individuals that have a job to do, these are your deliverables, and you're trying to drive those deliverables so you can move on to somewhere else on your own? It's a very small difference there, but it does affect the way you operate.
Yes.
That matters.
But if a leader doesn't believe in it, that's probably another topic.
Yeah.
Because we have to move on.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it.
So we talked about somewhat why culture is needed. One thing that I did not add, there's a formula. You ready?
I'm ready.
Motivated employees plus satisfied
I like where this is going.
customers equal profit. This is
I like it.
Why did I know this? This is why culture is so important. And then we also talked about people are really reevaluating their lives after the pandemic, or we're still in it with Omicron. So,
Yep.
is it Omicron?
I think it is.
I was about to say Gamma, but
it was a number at first, but who knows now?
Yep. And we talked about motivating employees because sometimes that can help in building the culture and making it spread. I brought up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You're like, that's good to know.
It is good to know.
Yeah.
It's the thing. If you're always looking for an answer and hang your hat on that 100% all the time, you have to ebb and flow with life. And people, we're not all the same. You can't say, this is it. And I put this stiff structure in, our culture is going to be perfect.
It's going to be
not going
100%.
to.
I get an A.
Delivery, intention, and understanding. I mean, it matters, you know?
So let's leave our listeners and our viewers with ideas on what they can do, things that they can do today, tomorrow, and next week. And this might be mixed with some signs of a good culture and with our collected experience, things we've seen that works. You're going to be coming from a perspective of being the person to craft your agency. You just said that the team, though, is the most important thing. You kind of lead that direction. You're the leader. And then I will come from a perspective of being a part of the machine, being a cog.
A cog in the wheel.
A cog in the wheel. So for me, and I'm looking at my notes, y'all, because I want to make sure I get it all right for everybody. I have 4 things that I think are important. The first one, and we touched on this because I said I love strategic planning. I love alignment. So shared values, common goals.
Yeah.
Jamie's goals and values shouldn't be different than your goals and values. My goals and values shouldn't be different than your goals and values.
Tying it to the goals and values of the
organization.
business and the organization.
Organization,
Fair
business.
enough.
Everybody needs to be on the same page. If somebody comes in the door and they ask me what this agency is about, we all better say the same 3 things. Okay? Did that scare you? Sort of.
That doesn't scare me.
Okay. Second thing,
Okay.
and this is probably my PR journalism background, communication. You have to talk to people. And if that means you put in place an intranet where your employees can talk amongst themselves or share resources or even share a shout out and some recognition, there's got to be some vehicle to keep that communication going. Of course, I can't see into every business. I don't know the dynamics. I mean, you could be sitting next to your coworker or whatnot, but just something formalized to help everybody talk and engage because people communicate in different ways. Love an intranet. I'm going to always talk about strategic planning. I probably said that 10 times. The next thing, pulse checks. Pulse checks, because an annual review is like passe. You want to have frequent conversations with your employees so that you can really pick up and identify problems or challenges and then also recognize good work. And I like to call them pulse checks. It's like, how are you doing? What can I do better?
Yeah.
Let's talk about how we solve a problem that you have. What solutions do you have on how I can be better? I love a pulse check.
And we do those here,
Yeah.
right? With every employee.
Glint is great.
Doesn't matter where it is, right?
Yeah.
It's not always about where are we challenges, what are we doing well, right? It's also
That's a good
about
point.
what do you want to know that you don't know? You get me for an hour, over lunch, breakfast, just wherever. It's your time.
Professional development.
Anything you want to know, anything. How do we bill for that? Why does profitability need to be here? Is it 14%? It's 20%? What do our margins need to be? I don't care what it is. You can be a graphic designer and be asking those questions. Let me tell you how we think about it and why it's important to think about it this way. You can't answer all those questions in depth, but you can share transparency. People typically don't do it because they're afraid people will leave.
Yeah.
Take the information and run. You have to have the thought of anybody who's I'm leading, I want them to take my job.
Yeah.
And it has to go like that all the way down.
I love that you share. I love that you share because what I've gotten in my history, my experience is like, oh, you don't want to know that. No, I'm the employee that does want to know. I do want to know.
And I'm going, please ask. Because I don't want to have to do it anymore.
Right. I want to be better, and I want to take your job.
Yeah.
So I want you to tell me. Don't just say that you don't want to know that. Don't assume that.
Yeah.
I am not like Joe sitting next to me.
Yeah.
And so that goes to another point.
Okay.
One of my points. Know your audience. Know your audience.
Really
know
important.
Who you're working with.
Really important.
And sometimes, for some people, that might mean compatibility testing, which I love because, it's kind of like grounded.
You do get a lot out of that.
Yeah. My fave is Strengths Finders.
Yep.
Love using that because it's based on strengths and not weaknesses, and just how we can all work together based on the things that we do well. On another podcast, I can share what my strengths are, but you probably can guess. You probably can guess.
We don't make them that long, I don't think.
I know. It's top five. But the bottom line, read the room. Read the room.
But what does that really mean, though? Read the room. It's like, oh, this is just how I am. If people turn off on you, pay attention to that. Right? It's not about that's who I am, I don't have to change. Adapt. It's two ways, right? So
Yes, sir.
I've got 4. Okay? Mm-hmm. There is one that mirrors yours.
Okay.
And I think about it very differently. Not very differently, honestly. It's not. I simplify it, right? Number 1 is communication.
Yes.
It's a two-sided conversation.
Two-sided.
That's it.
Excellent, though.
That's it.
It's not you sitting down with your team member and they do all the talking.
Absolutely.
Or vice versa. It is a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 2, transparency. Mm-hmm. We've touched on that a few times. Mm-hmm. What are the goals? What are the finances? What's happening? Mm-hmm. People need to know. And if it scares them, explain why it shouldn't. Are you working and you're afraid of losing your job? Or are you working and you're going to do the best you can and you're working towards positive gains? Mm-hmm. Because if you're working out of fear, you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Ooh, transparency helps with that.
Working out of fear.
Right?
Like, I don't know, PTSD. I'm so glad you said that.
You talk about retention,
Yeah.
Client retention. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it's about results. It's ROI, nothing else matters. Mm-hmm. But where the one place it does matter, are they comfortable picking up the phone and having an uncomfortable conversation with you and not avoiding it?
Comfortable having the
that's
uncomfortable.
culture. Yes.
Comfortable having the uncomfortable.
Yeah. That would be number 3. And my last one,
Oprah.
number 4, well, client satisfaction, right? That's what we talked about there. But now we're talking employee retention, right? Mm-hmm. Is there opportunity to grow and develop? Mm-hmm. Can you make decisions? Are you given the opportunity to fail? We talked about that early on.
To fail.
So those would be my top 4.
Cool. I only have one last one, but I think you've talked about it. Recognition, private and public. Private and public. There are some leaders that I've seen that love to do the public, but just can't seem to walk down to somebody's office and tell them that they do a good job. It's because they want the public to see that they're, but and it's for show. Authenticity matters. Character matters. Writing a note to an employee matters. For some, and that's where you know your audience. A free lunch for me is not a motivation. We talked about that.
Yes, and bringing lunch to you is.
But bringing lunch to me, but serving me lunch is a great motivation. Yeah. But a handwritten note is awesome as well.
It is, and a lot of leaders as well only do the internal, they don't do the external. Not any better. Mm-hmm. You have to have a balance there. People want to know. And a lot of it, if they're doing a lot of the internals, because they don't want to be boastful.
That's true.
People want to know. They want to understand. They want to know it's different in different places. So you got to share some of that.
Yeah. I had a teammate who was motivated by people giving her more work and not the outward recognition. But once we figured out through Strengths Finders that was what it was that motivated her to do a good job, we knew what to do and we could take the fluff out. And so it was more effective and she had more ownership in projects. So it just wasted less time figuring out what works.
Which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all part of the culture. And you learn how to rely on that person and you rely differently on a different person.
And you know what to say to that person versus what not to say, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think culture is good there. The bigger the organization, the harder it is to maintain it. You never have 100% consistency in anything. Just know that. But you want the majority to be on the right path, right? You're talking probably 80%.
Yep.
You might be able to lean to 60, but after that, you gotta make some adjustments.
I think that those strategic plannings are opportunities to
Helps
sit
a
down
lot.
and hear people and have feedback really does help a lot, because then it's creating that culture, it's creating those common goals. And if someone does not like it, you can say, this is what we talked about. This is what we stand for. And so I think that's really important. Let's see. I think we're running out of time.
Yeah,
So
we
I'm
tend to get there quick, don't we?
I know. I'm telling you, this could be part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. Oh, one thing though, on like handwritten notes, because you can see I'm passionate. If your company or business has 75 employees, this can be done. Do not let your CEO or president tell you that he does not or she does not have time to write a handwritten note. You be that person that pushes them along, gives them what things to say, and make it happen. So, okay, that's my last note. Finally, we've talked about some best practices, some tactical things that our listeners and viewers can take back with them. What do you think, though, Glint does really well in terms of culture?
In terms of culture,
And the reason why I say this
Yeah.
is because I've observed over these years the effort you have put into creating an environment that promotes creativity
right?
and safety. And I'm not just saying this because I work here, but this is one of the reasons why I work here.
Well, it's good that people see it, because you don't always know, and it's easy to get off the pathway. That's why you have to have people, checks and balances, keep you in line too,
Yeah.
so you don't get off path. Mentors help with that too. But for us, the pulse checks, I think, are really important. They're individualized. It shows you care. When somebody wants to say something, you stop and you listen. You let them say it, even if it's off path. If it's on path, you don't know where that's going to go. And I'm not saying you have to have meeting after meeting every day, but just take a minute and listen. And it's also okay to say, you know what, I can't do that right now, but it's important to me. I'm going to figure out a time for us to make that happen. Or will you put something on my schedule Thursday? You're taking action, or they're taking action to do something about it, and you're not being blown off. Oh yeah, I forgot. It's just not that important to me.
Right.
That's how it comes across. So I think that's really important. At the end of the day, I think, I say, you walk through the front door on day one, you get a big old long piece of rope. You take as much as you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you go. And when you make a mistake, if it doesn't align with what they're trying to do with the company, we talk about it. And then we move forward. We don't dwell and we don't beat it down. If you're doing it time and time again, it's a different conversation. But you have to give people the freedom to do the job they said they can do. And that's what you're looking for. So I think those are a couple things.
Well, I like the flex hours.
Flex hours are nice.
Knowing
Yeah.
that if my son Trevor texts me or calls me and I need to go and meet with the teacher, which doesn't happen too often, but I can, and that you trust me enough to do the job, and that my fellow teammates trust me enough to not drop the ball. I think that's very important.
It
And
is, yeah.
I really should say that you have succeeded in that it's not just you that we're answering to, but it's all of us. And sometimes you don't see that in organizations.
That's true, and it's also our clients, because without them, we're not here at the end of the day. So if we have deadlines, there's no excuses. You got to run out and pick up Trevor.
Yep.
Well, when you get home, you got to work.
Gotta work.
But that's life. You got to balance it out, and it became very easy for me to make the decision. It's hard to trust, especially when you're first doing that.
Yes, I could see that. That's hard.
But at the end of the day, you're at work more than you are anywhere else. If you really think about it, that's a crazy thing. So you want to have some balance through that as much as you can.
We've got to play good music, have good food,
Yeah,
and good laughs.
And that's continuing to improve as we bring the right people on board.
Yes. Fun at work is important.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think we have talked this to death, but we can go further at another time. But I've enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, it's been great.
About
Absolutely.
culture. I think it's so important. I think people overlook it, and they shouldn't. And they should just ask questions on how people feel, and they need to observe more. And so I think we covered a lot of things.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Be human, right?
Be kind.
Be kind. I
Be
am a fan of that
human.
now. Yeah.
The golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It never
Easy
fails.
to say, hard to live, right?
I don't know, though. It never fails. All right. We're signing off. Excellent. High five.
Good job.
Give us a thumbs up if you like this episode. And also leave us some comments or questions. If you want to subscribe to the podcast, go right here. And if you want to watch past episodes, check it out right there.